and I am the producer of the 2014 Sydney Mini Maker Faire. It's entirely possible you've heard me do this introduction 3 times now, but oh, and word to the wise humans, we have to hold the microphones at the top, otherwise they tend to create earth tone, which is annoying and useless for Dave's various cameras. You are here to see Growing Maker Communities, a panel with 4 esteemed colleagues who are going to talk about their respective experience in working within the Maker movement and their very unique experience in how you find people to join your respective rides. I will start from my far right. Moving along, we have Joy Solomon from Electrocraft, also of Irresistible Learning. We have Ariel Briner from Cartesian Co. Both of these stalls are very close to each other. See, that's not what it is at all. Are down on level 1 in the Turbine Hall and Transport Halls. So please go and say hello. I have David Vanderberg next to me from Solidifier. And finally, Adrian Apps from RoboDojo, who is sharing a stall this weekend with Community Robotics, also down on level 1 in front of the large solar cars. So what we might do to kind of go to begin with is if I hand the mic, in fact here, one for you, and I'll hand back over to Joy, and if we can all go along and just kind of give the people a crash course in why you're here, what brought you to this very point. Try and make it brief.
I run a group called Electrocraft. We are mainly on Facebook, and we meet up once a month. We're a meet-up for women and girls who want to do electronics for all levels. And how I sell it and how people respond to it is it's kind of it's a social learning group. It's not very taxing. All abilities and skill levels welcome. We talk a lot because it's a social group, so we actually you can show up with no project to work on and just chat and work with other people. It's all cool. And the model is based on book club or bitch and stitch or that kind of social thing that women like to do, but for electronics.
That sounds really cool. Wish I got one of those. Hi everyone, my name is Ariel, like the mermaid. I'm CEO of Cartesian Co. Go check it out, cartesianco.com. And we make the world's first desktop 3D printer for circuit boards. It's called the Argent. And I'm actually joined by one of my co-founders, Isabella, and my 3rd co-founder, John, is back at the main stall. Everyone else is there. And yeah, we started the company in Brisbane. We run it in Brisbane at the end of 2012. I've actually seen some of you at the stall, so I would have told some of you this already. And we ran a Kickstarter at the end of 2012, which was quite successful. And since then, we've been finalising the design and manufacturing it, and just now shipping off to those first few backers, which they're very excited to get it, and we're excited to send it out.
Importantly, Cartesian Co was one of the first Australian or Kickstarter.com.au projects as well. And in fact, just as a fun side note, a year ago, their very eager publicist was very keen to have them be part of the Sydney Mini Maker Faire. And at that point, to my, I guess now infinite shame, I'm like, who's this person? Why are they coming in now? Didn't they hear about the application process? Why wouldn't they just talk to us? This isn't even really a thing, it's a Kickstarter. I'm sorry, Ariel.
I'm sorry I synced out PR person.
No, that's...
I casually mentioned in an email.
It's what you pay them for, albeit it didn't work. But my apologies to you and your publicist. Oh, I probably still would have said no. It was late, man. I was tired. David.
Yeah, so I'm David from Solidifier. I've been in internet startups for a long time, and I found myself working from home for quite a while, which sort of led me to realise that there's a real need for co-working spaces to get people together so that they can collaborate, don't get rusty, and remain motivated. So I've been doing co-working spaces for a while now, founding director of Fishburners, which is grown to be quite a large community. And I started Engine Room. But last year, I went over to Shenzhen to manufacture a device that I've designed, and I've been involved in a maker community, Osprey Pie, for some time. While there was a couple of maker spaces around Sydney, nobody was really doing it commercially. That was in a way that was suitable for fostering staff. So Solidify is only a couple of months old. It's early days, but yeah, we're about commercial, projects, Kickstarter kind of projects, and try and help them become successful.
Hi, I'm Adrian from RoboDojo Makerspace, and I guess the reason we started our group was because we were looking for a makerspace in the Sydney area. There was one, but we found the commute, 40-50 minutes from where we are in like the Campbelltown region, kind of thing, to be a bit much. So put the word out, kind of thing, that hey, who wants to make a makerspace? And slowly been gaining more and more traction. But pretty much the primary goal for us is to just make available the tools and the shared knowledge, kind of thing, to basically everyone, kind of thing. So just to kind of illustrate, things like a laser cutter. The one we got ended up costing us, I think, something like $6,000 or something like that. So not everybody has that change burning holes in their pocket kind of thing. I wish I did. I'd have two of them. Just for the amount of things I want to build all the time. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. On Solidify's website they have a pricing structure for how you can be a member, and the one on the far right of the website is do it yourself for $32,000, and then when you click that it just sends you to the top of the Solidify website, encouraging you to just be a member for a few $100s a month. It's a nice touch. I suppose that's it's a good thing to touch on that, because you mentioned the other guys. There is a reason that you're here and not the other guys. Not that we don't like Robots and Dinosaurs, who are the other makerspace that Adrian refers to, I assume as such. Yeah, it's a healthy rivalry based on love, and as Adrian told you last night at 9 o'clock, the possibility of a sentry gun that will fire Nerf darts at the Robots and Dinosaurs logo. Which
yes, didn't get to finish that this year, so
makes me sad. Yeah, always 2015. But I guess there's that kind of thing, like, one of the reasons we were so keen to have somebody represented from RoboDojo is it's so easy to talk to those guys because they are just there. And so I guess this is where we throw to the wider set, is like, when you have this kind of idea, and this is something you've probably had to rebuild several times over the years, it's like, is it really just as simple as, going to Facebook and going, hi, I want this thing to exist, do you want to help me? And this even flows through to, making something so wacky as a 3D printer that prints circuit boards. It's wacky, man. It's great. If you want to kick off, Adrian.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't as easy as that. I believe the first time I made contact trying to seek other people was actually on the Robots and Dinosaurs mailing list. Basically saying, hey, anyone else here from Campbelltown? Kind of thing, Campbelltown represented. And had a few people kind of say, yeah, I've looked at this, kind of thing. So from there we just thought, okay, let's have a meetup. And one of our members, Andrew, had a business in the area, Laser Craze, kind of thing, and said, okay, fine, let's meet here, kind of thing. You're welcome to use my place as a meeting point. So we met up, had a few people from Robots and Dinosaurs there. Gav was there to kind of provide a bit of advice on starting up a makerspace, because he's certainly an integral part of that group. Yeah, and then from there it's just been both a learning process and just, getting the word out there that we exist. We don't really advertise much. It's probably something we should do more if we want to gain members. At this point we haven't even formalised an organisational structure. So legally we're just a group of people meeting. It's at your own risk, kind of thing, we don't formally have a organisation. So we're still in the process of learning how to become a viable makerspace in the area. Yeah, let's see, it's probably been about 2-3 years now, kind of thing, from that first moment of contact kind of thing. The first 6 months, nothing really happened. We met up a few times, just as Joe was saying, as social. Joe, sorry? Joy, sorry. I'm terrible with names. I will get there. I was close. If that's alright. Yeah. At first it just turned out to be a social thing. Kind of thing. And it still is. It definitely is so much a social thing. A lot of the time people just turn up, no project in mind. They just want to hang, kind of thing. And because we're not charging fees, I suppose that encourages that. Because you're not wasting money by not doing anything, kind of thing. I suppose some people would see it like that. But definitely, it's a great community of people to be around. As I said, the knowledge is the primary thing that I think is the most important to be able to share out there. You know, there's so much knowledge in different diverse people from backgrounds and that sort of thing.
How do you actually get the funds to buy tools?
Yeah, that is definitely a good question. At this point, a lot of the tools have been Andrew. He likes to purchase the big item things, mostly because he was running a business and that sort of thing. But other things, sometimes we chip in on things, you know, $50 here, that sort of thing. If we had more members, then certainly a portion of the membership fees could be used towards purchasing things. And that's one of the reasons we're looking at, you know, more formalising the structure and everything.
Yeah, sure. In terms of, you know, well, we're still only 2 months old, so but it was quite a natural progression for myself to open up a makerspace. We've been fostering the Osprey Pie community for 2 years now. It's something that I've been interested in for quite a while, the hardware space. And I've been running co-working spaces since 2010, but it definitely helps to have an existing community. I don't think you can just cold open a co-working space and say, hey, you know, guys, we're potentially great, come and work with us. It's a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. There are actually, co-working's a funny game, there are actually a lot of people out there who just sort of look at office space and divide it by the number of people they can fit in there, and they think that's the cost of running a co-working space. It's not at all. And there's also a lot of people that are running businesses that, you know, when you go for a lease for a business, you have to decide, are you going to get an office just big enough for your business now, or big enough for where you're going to be in 2 to 3 years' time when you're, you know, you're signing a lease for. Most people will choose the latter. What do we do with the extra space? So there's a lot of people that, you know, try to make money out of co-working, but it's actually not as easy as that. It is not that much about space, more as much as it is about community and having the right people. So it is very much about getting the right people, and that's where the stage we're at with Solidify right now is we haven't done the big marketing push yet. I'm building the core community first, and so we have some really amazing people under the roof right now, and that's going to be the catalyst to build the community from there. Plus we have the credentials of Osprey Pie and you know, now Justin from Sydney IoT, and those communities. So yeah, I mean that's our strategy for building the community. But yeah, I mean that's sort of come from existing communities already. So we're leveraging that and just making sure we get the best people in.
Cool, thank you. So just to be clear, the original question was how to attract a group of people to join your effort.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, the interesting kind of facet for you and Joy is that you both had to kind of build a community from nothing, really. You know, it just hi, well, then it was this. It's the wacky thing.
He's the wacky thing. Okay, so our story is pretty good, I think. We were quite lucky. So the original three co-founders, myself, Isabella, and John, I went to high school with John, and we've been friends since then. We actually met in robotics club before we knew that we were going to be engineers, and that was obviously going to happen. We have, since we were young, been doing we didn't know what they were at the time, but in retrospect, business ventures. We would build little motorized bicycles and then sell them, and the cost of servicing was too high, so we didn't keep doing that. And then we would buy stuff from China and try and sell it on eBay, but we always got beat out by people who would do it better. But we didn't care, because it was just a lot of fun. It was just experimenting and trying it out.
I was just thinking there, like, oh, this story sounds really familiar, and then like, oh, that's because it's his. Carry on.
Yeah, that's how we got started doing this stuff, and then eventually we went to university together, both studying engineering. He did mechanical and aerospace, I did electrical and aerospace, and in one of my software lectures I met Isabella, and she was doing software. And John, I had, years before we started the company, had this idea for a 3D printer that makes circuit boards. I was sitting in my little garage that I turned into my workshop, and I was furiously acid etching one of my own boards to try and make something for a physics assignment I had for uni in second year. And right next to me, because this was 2009, I had my MakerBot Cupcake, and it was happily churning away, printing out shot glass or something silly. And I was sitting there thinking, this is so frustrating, why can't I get that to do what I'm doing? Well, that was the spark. And I originally started working on the project back then in 2009. I got a little something working, but decided to put it on the shelf for whatever reason. I only really wanted to make it for myself. I never really wanted to make it a product. So fast forward to 2012, there's an email that goes around to all of the people associated with UQ, our university, and it's about iLab, the startup accelerator run by UQ, and they say we're offering, we're putting a call out for all invitations to new people to apply to our new round. And John came to me and said, hey, why don't you stop talking about that PCB printer all the time and let's actually go and do it. So he was the one that got me on board, which is interesting. And then I said, we're going to need a software engineer. How about Bella? And we're like, yeah, cool, let's do this. So it was over that that we finished our exams on a Friday. And then that night we ran to Officeworks, which closes at 9, and we bought 2 inkjet printers, and I had a few of the chemicals we're now using in ink sitting around from when I first started the project years before, and I never throw anything out. And over the course of that weekend, because the application for the Startup Accelerator was due on Monday, over the course of that weekend we got the very first one of our printer working. First time anywhere in the world. We printed a circuit board on paper. It was really simple. It had really thick tracks. It was printed on a piece of photo paper. Terrible resistance. It had a coin cell battery, a little buzzer, and then you folded a flap on it to make it buzz. But it worked, and it still works to this day. I still have it somewhere. And then we wrote a pitch, and on Monday we went to iLab and we showed it off, and we're like, we actually have one. It's not just a pipe dream. And they were mildly impressed with that. Yeah, since then, really the important part was attracting more people to our course, because at the beginning people still thought it was crazy. They thought it was something that wasn't going to catch on or that it wasn't going to work. And one thing that helped us gain so much legitimacy was our Kickstarter. I mean, we had to convince everyone that it was legitimate for the Kickstarter anyways. That was tricky. But once you get over that hump, once everyone sees, once you can point to that and say, that was successful, this is legit, come join us, everyone all of a sudden is no longer chasing them, they're now coming to you. So since those early days when we only had 3 original co-founders, we had the Kickstarter, we grew to 6 full-time members, and today I think we're at 19, not all full-time actually, many of which are work experience interns for their engineering degree. And but it's now very easy to find people because we had a dream and we just stuck with it until it worked. And now people see that and realize, hey, I want to get on board with that. So yeah, that's how we attract people.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I had very small scale dreams.
They're the best ones sometimes.
Yeah, actually, it's been cool. I was working here at the Powerhouse in the Think Space Labs, starting to teach electronics because that's the direction they were moving in. My background's as an artist and media artist, and started to think, hang on a second, this is actually the coolest workshop we teach. Why? And then we also at that time started a program, started offering workshops just for girls, girls only workshops. And I started to see that actually, you know, to my great surprise, because if you'd have asked me previous to that, do girls and boys learn the same? I would have said, of course they do. It's all gender stereotyping and rubbish, but actually, for whatever reason, they were my favourite workshops, and I wanted to be in workshops with girls. And I thought, I was trying to teach myself electronics off YouTube and stuff, and it's all boys, and it's all men, and you know, I like men, it's not an anti-man thing, but I kept thinking to myself, I really actually want to learn this with other women, from other women, they must be out there, and they are. And so I made that space where I wanted to learn, basically. And so I sent an SMS to my friend Pia, who's well known in Sydney art and hacker circles, and yeah, who's actually too busy to actually be in Electrocraft, but however, her spark was the thing. I sent her a text and go, hey, how about a meetup for chicks who want to do electronics? And she said, oh my God, yes, let's do it. Which turned into, oh my God, yes, you do it. But that's, you know, but that was actually the catalyst I needed. And then we got together in a bar and came up with a name and put an application into the Maker Faire before we had any clue. You know, I'm good at things like descriptions and stuff, so I wrote my dream. And I said, this is my meetup, this is what it's going to be called, this is what's going to happen, and soon it'll be ours, how about it? And to my great delight, I had nothing to show, I'm not very good at electronics, I was still learning, and yeah, people came and talked to me, I talked to them. By the end of that day, 40 women had signed up to the group on Facebook. We had our first meetup with 15 women the next week, and we've been going since then. We've got over 100 members, and we just roll slow, there's no money. We have a space from Vibewire, Little Bird Electronics throws, you know, a bit of stuff our way, basically, to play with. That's about it, because Maddie, one of the founders of Little Bird, is one of our members. That's how it goes, and it's very sweet and nice.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's really sweet. It's fun. Was Maddie on board from Word Dot, or did she find you through your ThinkSpace work? I sent
Little Bird an email because I was buying stuff from them anyway, and I figured it was worth a shot. And I had no idea who they were or what they did. I googled a little bit, you know, I was new to all of this, and I said, hey, we're doing a hands-on hack day. Would you guys like have a robot kit that you would just give us to play with? Because we don't have money and that's not what we do. But you know, we'd acknowledge you as sponsors. It doesn't have to be expensive, just some, you know, piece of kit. And Maddie went, yeah, sure. And like, by the way, can I join? I was like, yeah, totally. So that's how that happened. And she's actually like one of the key members now. Yeah, it's actually really great to have those guys on board, yeah.
Feel free to ask questions at any point. It's as good a moment as any to bring that up. And sorry if there's something in my throat.
So we're going to talk about Adafruit? Is that what's happening? Adafruit's great.
It's not contagious. I'm not allowed to get sick to a
Sydney based, yeah. We meet the first Thursday of the month in Vibewire across the road. Please do. And actually, like, this is the most controversial thing I say. I can talk for an hour and I guarantee this is the thing that gets retweeted 100 times. We are for women, but that doesn't mean we are not for men. We're just for women. And so we have friends, and so if you want to join our Facebook group as well, you're more than welcome.
That sounds brilliant.
Daniel's on our Facebook group.
If Bella, that's something
Yeah,
that you should, yeah, that's the only problem, right? Yeah. So we should start something like that.
But to be honest, occasionally male friends and members do show up, and I don't know what they're expecting, but I don't think it's what they're expecting. And we actually talk a lot. It's loud. It's noisy. Like, you know, it's actually very social, and it's like warm and social. You know, so you know, be prepared if you're going to show up. That's what it's going to feel and look like. But just, yeah.
Do you Are most of your members just beginners or becoming introductory to electronics? Do you find you have too many people that are advanced? I say that meaning that I actually prefer people who are beginners in electronics as opposed to those who are advanced.
Well, if you were to go over to our stall right now, down on level 1, you'll find Carla, who's doing a PhD in biomedical electronics. So, the answer is everything. Everything from people showing up going, I've seen this around, I want to get into it, to, oh, I've done a bit of this, but I've put it aside for a while, to, I'm really into this. There's actually the full range of skills.
I don't know if this is something that you find when you meet people who are interested in electronics as well, but maybe this is more common in men and less common in women. But I find that the more advanced someone is with their skill, the more pompous and annoying and self-righteous they are with they know what's going on and you don't. As opposed to the beginners, they're free to think about new ideas and want to learn and share far more than anyone else. I think, and I'm going to call him out because he's not in the room, I think we probably all watched Dave's videos, and I think we all know what I'm talking about when I say that someone who's advanced in electronics is usually rather opinionated. I'm going to get in trouble for that later.
I'm going nowhere near that.
We love that.
We do love Dave, but also, you know, you don't get to 150k YouTube followers, you know, by being nice, or maybe you do. I don't know. That's why Charlie is so cool, like, right? Let's talk business. Let's go towards business, because one of the things that really kind of grabbed me through looking through Solidify's material and on their website was like, you introduced this concept to me, which was otherwise unheard of, and I thought I'd heard of every flavour of Maker and every derivative thereof and what you could be, but no one had ever stuck the word pro in front of it. And I actually found that quite profound, because, you know, that it's not only planting a flag in terms of what Solidify does, but it's like, no guys, you know, it's great to make things, but we're here to pay rent.
Yeah, well, it was very deliberate, actually. I guess we wanted to distance ourselves from the traditional mindset of Maker, where, you know, sometimes if you say Maker, maybe you're thinking about the Crochet Club, or, you know, people...
We love crochet.
People who are doing stuff as a hobby, but that's really not what we're about. I mean, I've got a history of working with successful startups, and what I want to see people do is, if they're really passionate about something and really good about something, why not make money out of it? Why not change the world with it? You know, don't just have it sitting on a shelf in your home. So we're very much about the pro maker. You know, a lot of other maker spaces may not be open all the time. And, you know, that really says to me that this is about hobbies. This isn't about, you know, really changing the world. Sorry to those maker spaces, but I mean, that's great. But I really want to see Australian innovation, you know, done seriously with the best people and being taken seriously over the other side of the world. And we're just making a strong point about that's what we do. So we do try to get the best people who've had some commercial success or are just really good at one aspect of, electrical engineering or industrial design. We just try to get the best people together and watch the great things happen.
Would you look at the space as an incubator of sorts, or are you more just providing, like, it's a facilitator for their work as opposed to actually fostering them through a process?
Right now, it's just a co-working space. So it's a co-working community, but we will move towards an incubator. I don't like the concept of forcing somebody into an incubator model. I like the serendipity of people being in a space together and somebody comes up with an idea and somebody else is good at something that's relevant to that and they can collaborate just off the cuff. I want to encourage that to happen, but at the same time, there's very good reasons why incubators exist. You know, sometimes the founders, you know, can't really afford to spend their life on a startup moving slowly. So an incubator really accelerates that. So, you know, you get some money put in, you get pushed along, you get good mentorship, probably get matched up with other good people, and you'll either achieve success or failure quite quickly. And if you know, hit the failure side of it, then at least you can go back to your day job and you haven't lost your house. So yeah, I'm very interested in the incubator model as well, and it's something that we'll probably do. But we're always going to be open to people just being part of the community.
And you've got a nice little premises on Oxford Street in Darlinghurst, and we're thrown across to the wider panel. Like, how important is it to have, I mean, obviously it's a co-working space, so the space itself has to exist. But even as Adrian was saying earlier, like, you started off in somebody's house. Now,
Not a house. Yeah, not a house as such. It was a business, but it is, and it still continues to be, someone else's property kind of thing. We haven't got a facility we rent from or anything like that. So yeah, finding that spot was a bit of a challenge, one of the original challenges.
But so I guess that throws to the wider point of like, how important is it to have a base of operations that you can operate from? Does that help that sense of legitimacy? That like,
If we didn't have our office, we'd have a hard time manufacturing our product. So, I actually forgot to mention before, but while you were mentioning the topic of, do you get a premises the size that the company is now, or the one that the company is earlier, and then the natural thing to do is get one that's a bit bigger, which is exactly what we did. And then with that extra space, what do you do with it? You turn it into a co-working space, which is exactly what we did. We never did it with the intention of making any money. We did it because there wasn't a good alternative in Brisbane. And we came from our incubator knowing that there were so many people, that there's a time limit on the incubator and they get kicked out eventually, that desperately still wanted a space that they could afford, and most importantly, that atmosphere, to be surrounded by other people that have that similar thinking, that are driven towards doing something that is against the tide. And we, at the peak, I think we only had 3 other people in with the 3 little extra offices. And unfortunately, over time, we've had to reclaim those as our company has grown. I think we're probably going to have to reclaim the last one soon, because we're getting way too many orders to produce them all. But yeah, it was excellent. Having those people around gave us such a different perspective on what we were doing. They weren't interested in electronics, they were interested in their own things. And talking to them about our problems and listening to them about their problems was excellent. Didn't really have any point there, just wanted to say it was great.
You're allowed.
Even though it's only once a month, I think Vibe are an excellent host for what we're doing. Firstly, I have a relationship with them because I used to, for a long while, have a desk in their co-working space on Harris Street. So that was a really that was a relationship that I already have with them. So when I approached them and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing," they went, "Sure, once a month. That's exactly what we do." And I'm like, "Really? You don't host any other meetups?" But excellent. So the space works great for us. It's really well located in terms of being good public transport links and so on. And also they provide support and community and access to their community. And so I've made links through them, and I've spoken at Fast Break by invitation of Vibewire. And yeah, they're actually good supporters of us as well, which is really nice to have. So it's not just a space, it's a community that we're linked to through that space.
Yeah, on the location thing, location is actually critical for co-working, especially the commercial end of co-working that I go into. You know, if you go down the hobby end of the market, people are quite happy to travel a little bit further because it's their recreation time. But I'm dealing with startups, and you look at these guys, and you know, when you do a startup and you put in your income on the line, basically, you know, leaving the day job, they're very serious about their business. So, you know, they don't want to be spending a lot of time traveling somewhere. They want to be close to the center of things, you know, around potential investors and business partners. Yeah, location is critical. Otherwise, you know, if you weren't in a central location, they just stay at home and just burn the midnight oil, which is, you know, great. They'll be focused on their startup, but there's a lot of bad things that come from working on your own, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, it's very familiar with the notion. It's something John and I have talked about on several occasions, like, you know, when your powers combine, you make some sort of Voltron, like everything is just better. As a kind of, that sounds like it was being really flippant, it wasn't. Like I definitely get, you know, you need more than one human, if for no other reason than to just know I'm not crazy for thinking the things that I think, or at least I can have somebody who sits across from me and says, you're crazy. I'm like, okay, I'll come up with something better. As kind of a way to kind of wrap it up before we throw to the floor, I know you've all kind of spoken about a kind of the idea of a grander vision and, you know, reclaiming your office space, and we've actually talked about anti-growth more than anything else, you know, and moving to an incubator model. Like, what I'd like you to kind of think about is, what's the thing that happens next for you all? Like, are you, you know, do you go for rapid expansion, or do you go just to find other, you know, people into your organization? What is the thing that you are now all looking to do, you know, post an August 18 world? Because personally, I don't know what happens to the world after August the 18th, or at least August the 17th.
Yeah, you want to go first, or if you don't mind, I'll just throw back to the last question too, just on location. No, that's all right. I was just thinking, like, from our view, most of our members pretty much are formed up of impoverished students, kind of thing, for lack of a better word. You know, people that can't afford to necessarily go to another makerspace or something like that. So location definitely important. We find having access to things like public transport, the train, railway station. If you were to set up a makerspace, that is certainly something to keep in mind, access to public transport. It just makes it so much easier for those type of people. But yeah, when we were kind of setting up, back to that kind of thing, you know, we kind of worked out there were three things that were needed. There was the members, so that you've got both, as I said, the knowledge, but also just the critical mass there for things. Ideally, if they were paying fees, that would bring in money, so that would be a second thing, and the space was the third kind of thing. Without any of those three things, it's hard. It is really hard. You're a tripod with two legs, kind of thing. You know, so as you know, that'll just topple, kind of thing. So we found that a delicate balance. You know, sometimes there's a bit of money, sometimes there's not. You know, so it's a bit wobbly, kind of thing. It's not a strong structure there. And once we get those three, and this is moving forward, kind of thing, having that strong foundation to work with, kind of thing, I think we'll see boom, kind of thing. You know, that growth of all those things that we want. You'll get more makers. You know, the space we have is huge at the moment. It's way too big for what we need. But that's only because it is someone else's property, basically, and they're graciously letting us use it. You know, if we were having to pay for it, we couldn't afford it. Let's put it that way. It's a big industrial warehouse kind of thing.
Do you guys know if there are any government grants that can help makerspaces?
We have explored that. It is a little tough from what we've found in New South Wales. If we were in ACT, bam, you'd get funding, kind of thing.
So tell them about the Canberra Haven Makerspace.
Oh yeah. If you're going to make Haven Void, they're waterfront property. You set up a fine dining restaurant there, kind of thing. It is beautiful. Right in what's the area called? Belconnen, kind of thing. I'm not too familiar with the area. Sorry if I got that name wrong. But
they do actually pay for it though. I spoke to them.
Oh yeah, they pay a lot.
Yeah. That's the thing. I thought it was originally free, which made me very annoyed. But it's an ex-water police station,
right, yeah.
So it looks out over the lake.
Yeah, it's right on the marina.
And it's just all glass on one side.
Yes.
And the main complaint, I spoke to one of the members, their main complaint is the lack of disabled access. So yeah, that is annoying. Yeah, they should probably put in a ramp.
They do pay for it. Under the ACT though, they've got a very generous government kind of structure for that sort of thing for that. So previously they were in some other place, for whatever reason I can't remember, they had to vacate those premises. They were paying a novated amount of I don't know, say $400 a year kind of thing. That's the type of money we're talking about. Like, it was pretty cheap. Anywhere else you'd be paying that a week kind of thing. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, that amount, but you get what I'm kind of trying to say. So when they had to leave this other premises, the government kind of went, oh, we've got to find somewhere new for you. Hey, we've got this vacant place, do you want it? Kind of thing. And, same price, everything, as far as I'm aware. It's a beautiful system of support there. But so far from what I've seen with New South Wales, there's no state support kind of thing. There are various organisations that may be willing to throw you some sort of grant. We haven't come across one locally yet in southwest Sydney, kind of thing, that's willing to do that. I mean, you've got your organisations like the Catholic Club, who are community supporters, Rotary clubs, that sort of thing. Maybe, but I suppose part of the problem for us is too that we're not a formalised organisation yet. So without having that, I mean, who's going to give a group of hackers money, kind of thing? I mean, I probably wouldn't, if that's their business case.
Parallels to Men's Shed.
Men's Shed, sorry?
Yeah.
I suppose it is a little bit, because it is very much a community-driven kind of group, where we're sharing tools and knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah, you can draw a parallel with Men's Shed. We actually.
I love Men's Shed's groups. I think they're great. Earlier in the morning, we kind of talked about the idea, particularly of how you find people to engage with something like the Sydney Mini Maker Fair, and there are a lot of. Occasionally, someone will ask a question like that, and I know that's not what you were doing, but there's this kind of thing like they're conspicuous by their absence. It's not that we're against them, but I think there's a part of, oh well, we've already been doing this. We are already makers. Like we're a Men's Shed. We're not makers. We're a Men's Shed. So there's a level to which, and I take that on board. Like we need to go and find those people, knock on their door, and say, come play with us and bring all of your cool toys. So there's no reason why they're not here. They're just not here.
Yeah, I've worked with a couple of Men's Sheds too, just like from a personal point of view. I know some one local group kind of thing, and I find the kind of structure of it a little bit different. Whereas we're more about getting projects done and that sort of thing. They're more about the social kind of aspect of it, sharing things that they've done in the past, that sort of thing. Whereas we kind of want to live in the now kind of thing more, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean any offence at all to Men's Shed kind of thing. Yeah, a great organisation, but I suppose there are those slightly different goals kind of thing.
I think it's a strong analog between that kind of agency and sort of enjoys that's how I feel about it. But,
Yeah, just like with any groups that actually work out of
Yeah, and in the group that I've kind of worked with, they've been interested in what I'm doing, but I haven't seen any inclination from any of them to come across to Robo Dojo to kind of check it out, kind of thing. They're happy for me to bring something to them, but not necessarily kind of the other way around.
Okay, I guess we should go back to the original question, which was what's next? Yeah. Well, for us, definitely not rapid expansion. I've seen how that works in the co-working industry before, because of the reasons I stated before. There's a lot of people that think it's very easy to do. So the best way for us to move forward is to just create successful businesses. So create as much value for the people within our space as possible, and part of that is just what the stuff you get from co-working, which is connecting people up with the right people, providing them with the right tools, creating a vibe around the community. Being in a co-working space actually generally makes it a lot easier for you to get PR. because journos actually will come out fishing for stuff. But also, yeah, money. Money for them, I mean, for a startup. So, that's where the incubator model comes in, but also hooking up with investors. Now, what I want to see happen is some big products coming out of our space. I want to see very successful Kickstarter campaigns, or maybe even not Kickstarter campaigns. Not everyone has to do Kickstarter. That's the direction we're going, and yeah, I would just like to create a richer community that is purely focused on pushing out successful innovation, and beyond that, something that one of the reasons Fishburners became successful, firstly we were one of the first movers in the co-working space, but we did focus purely on innovation. And that had the knock-on effect of putting us on the radar of some of the big corporates who wanted to associate their brand with innovation. Optus was the first to come on board. We actually got a little bit of money from New South Wales Trade and Investment, but there was only like $20,000. But that came with caveats on reporting and stuff. Optus came on board and gave us some money, which enabled us to open the event space, which then became the biggest lead generator for because it just created a more vibrant community. Then PwC and News Corp. I think we can do a similar thing in the hardware space with Solidifier. So that's one of the next things as well. I want to start appealing to the bigger corporates, see how we can collaborate, just be very innovative, foster extremely innovative products coming out of the space, attract attention, and hopefully get some sponsorship to enrich the community as well.
What's next for us? Well, there's not really much of an option for us because we're getting more orders than we can fulfill on our printer at the moment.
Make more printers.
Yeah, make more printers, that's it. So we're talking about rapid expansion, that's it for us, rapid expansion.
They also have a fantastic line of t-shirts.
Yeah, I don't even have to mention the t-shirts. Those are just normal t-shirts. So we have a lot of printers to make and a lot more printers to sell. Especially one of the things is, we love being in Australia. This is absolutely great. But it would be selfish of us to keep it all to ourselves. So we need to travel around, go to the other maker fairs around the world and spread the good word of Cartesian Co. There's a lot more people from everywhere asking us every day. I get emails. Every morning I wake up and respond to half dozen emails that come from the US overnight about people wanting to know more about the printer. And that's just where it's heading, more in that direction. And then I can probably mention a little bit about how we have other visions on the horizon for other products, but I can't say too much about that. But given that we were the very first people anywhere in the world to bring circuit board printing to 3D printers, just follow that same line of logic and you'll see where we're going next.
Okay.
With Electrocraft, I think the key will be that it needs to be what its members want it to be. And at the moment, they don't necessarily want it to be bigger. It may get bigger, but it's just about being right for who we have. So people have approached me and said, we'd really like to be able to run workshops for you guys. I'm like, yeah, that's not what we're about. Or would you like to team up to do an event together? Probably not. And not because we're being lazy about it or anything, but at the moment, once a month where we get together and sit down and talk and share our projects and put a few posts on Facebook, seems to be a cruisy pace that we're all happy with. And if someone wants to take it somewhere else, I'm more than happy for them to go down that road. But this is where I'm happy and this is where our members at the moment seem to be happy. So for the moment, that's where it'll settle. What we are getting out of it is a richness of connection and community, and those connections are starting to bear fruit for people in terms of not just their projects that they're working on, but we're noticing now that there's different members are starting to collaborate on things which may actually turn into businesses or other forms of opportunities, which I think is tremendous. And certainly that's been the case for me, although I'm at the hub of the network, so that would make sense. But some of the other members around me are starting to see these same flow and effects. So that's kind of, you know, where we want to keep that project. Yeah, whatever its members need it to be, basically. And they joined it for what it is, and so I don't imagine it's going to be too much more. I don't want to collect money, you know, and there is a, you know, I don't want to collect money. I don't want to have to like write a constitution or get auspiced or any of that stuff. So there will be a point at which like that might have to start happening, and if at that point the people around that who want that to happen will have to take that up, because that's not what this is for me. So, you know, we'll just see what happens at that moment. You might be in a similar place, Adrian, yeah, where you just got to work with the flow. At the moment we can just kind of, you know, pop our various businesses' public liability insurance into the mix and things like that, and we're just kind of motoring along, putting expenses through on different people's accounts because it's all loose change and slightly tax deductible, I guess. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, tax
I'm going to gesture towards my timekeeper. Gesture. Nodding. As in now, or we're good? No, we're not good.
So I would like to thank David Vandenberg, Adrian Apps, Ariel Briner, and Joyce Solomon. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you, of course, to yourself.